everybody. This is Linda, and I'm here with my friend Arlene. And even though it says Fred on the bottom, that's her husband. When
I know
she,
I look like, well, I
she
look
looks
like
angelic. She looks
I
angelic.
look like spirit.
Yeah, yeah. So
How
anyway,
how do we know each other, Linda?
well, we met via my show, my YouTube show,
Yes.
and you took a little interest in it, and you told me that you had owned a shop, an angel
Yep.
shop, where a lot of miraculous stuff took place.
A lot of
Your
story. Boy, I could
story.
write a book on that, just on that alone. Yeah.
And
I
then
had
you
that for 10
came,
years in Connecticut. Yeah.
and then you came to my event at the Catskills.
Yes. Well, we talked about doing a YouTube podcast, which we do have, which we
Yeah.
initiated a couple of months ago, which is called Beacons of Balance, and it's about living in balance, right? So that's
having a
Linda's
good
other
time.
show.
We just had a special guest that we'll be posting later, but yeah, we're having a
Well,
good time.
yeah, that's going to air on the end of January, but folks tune in because there's going to be exciting things. We're going to bring speakers on, and next month will be February, so it's the month of love and
Love.
relationships, and we have a love doctor coming on. I'm excited about that.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, but Arlene and I decided to get together. I said, well, I'll put it on my show. Plus, a lot of people are saying, what the hell is this? What's this podcast?
Yeah, and who is she? Well, now I look like the ghost lady, but anyways,
Yeah.
I am real.
Yeah. And tell us about when you opened your little shop. How long did you have that?
I had it for 10 years. And the reason well, I always wanted to do a business, but what happened is in my second marriage, my mother-in-law that passed away. Okay. Because we're going to talk today about spirit, correct?
Yes.
About spirit.
And so you have some great stories. That's why
I have a lot of stories, but I know Linda's wrote a book and it's coming out. I've been writing a book for like 30 years. So, but this is going to be in the book also. And I've talked about it before when I opened up Angels. It was when my mother-in-law passed away. It was very profound. And I actually was in the room. And if anybody's been with loved ones or whoever that was crossing over, I actually saw her spirit lift out of her body when she took her final breath. Her eyes had been fixed for like 2 days. It was like this, but it was like the lights were on, nobody's home, they weren't moving. And when she took her final breath, they rolled back to the lights and she ceased breathing. My sister-in-law screamed, she ran out and got the nurse. The nurse came in, and I swear to God, there's 5 of us standing around her bed, and I saw her spirit come back in, and her eyes flipped down. And then it was like a mannequin, though. It wasn't a fluid.
In her body, in her physical body, her eyes flipped down?
Yes.
And she was
Now
dead.
You're a nurse, so you've seen people expire. I never, and I have a medical background too, never saw this. And a nurse that worked there 15 years never witnessed anything like this. And her eyes, and it was like a mannequin, though. It was that kind of movement, like click, click, click. So she came to each one of us, and she came to me, and I was communing with her telepathically. And then the energy was so intense. You know, you say when, like, if God would appear, or that energy creator, whatever you want to call it, we couldn't, in this physical form, we couldn't absorb that energy. We would kind of disintegrate. We would kind of blow up. And I do believe that. So when I was communing with her, looking this way, I just naturally, my head bent down, like in reverence. I couldn't take any more. Do you know what I'm saying? I just went like that. And then she ended with her son looking at him. And then she left. She left. So that kind of, I kept talking about it. I was telling strangers about it. That, you know, I'd meet anybody and I'd say, oh my God, you're not going to believe this happened. And so that kind of led me to, I always had an infinity to angels. This is another story. I was raised very Catholic. My father used to call her Saint Cecilia. In the beginning, she used to go to church a lot and everything, but then later on in life, forget it. But anyway, she had my sister. I have a sister that's almost 7 years older than me. And she said she was in church praying, you know, like in church praying. And she said an angel appeared to her and asked her if she wanted to have another little girl. Wow. And my mother said yes. And then I was conceived. I always tell people I was that angel. Yeah, right. My exes would say, yeah, you're some angel, all right. But I think it was maybe that energy, because I believe we come in with our guide. People call them guide. I call them angels. You come in with a guide that stays with us throughout our life. I think they come in when we're going through difficult times or whatever. They're not going to interfere because we're beings of free will and choice. We always have free will and choice. So they won't interfere with our, we call them our contracts or whatever. But and then I think they guide us when we leave. You call on them to take you back home, So so I always had an infinity growing up, Catholic, because of course we have all the statues around and everything. And I would go to church and I always stare at them, and I always had a thing with angels. I always loved them. So after this happening, and I wanted to open up a business, and I was guided to open up the angel shop. I said it was their place. It was a place for everybody to come in love and peace. I always wanted love and peace in my life. Love and peace. I just wanted peace because I grew up in a crazy, chaotic, yelling household. And it was their place, and I was honored to be part of it. And I opened it up. When I first opened, I had it with a cafe. So it was called Angels Coffee and Tea Room, a celestial gathering place. A lot of stories, a lot of spirit. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it, when I first opened, it was right next to, years ago, you probably know this term, they used to call them gin mills. They're bar. No, you didn't hit, no. Well, around this area, they would call them gin mills. Don't ask me why. I guess maybe because they illegally used to make gin. I don't know. Right. But it was right next to this bar that would open up like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like right next door to it. Well, no, one shop in between. But I would walk by after I parked my car, and oh my God, I'd hold my nose because you could smell the booze coming out, the old stale smoke and liquor. And many times, these, awful to say, these alcoholics that were inebriated would come and they would stumble into my shop.
Oh my God.
They would, and they'd be standing there, they'd be weaving, they'd be, and of course it triggered a lot of stuff in me. But then I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe this is my lesson, and I'm supposed to be here to, we're also see the light in each other and, try to lift each other up. And so I try to work with it. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I had every known religion walk through that shop, including satanic and demonic. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, human beings, not satanic.
Human, well, and spirit too. But I had people coming in with the collars with the stuff, all kind of stuff, carrying a little coffin pocketbook, and so
people that dabbled in a lot of different things.
A lot of different things. But you know what was an open place? And the ones that had heavy duty stuff and they didn't want to be around light or handle it, they couldn't take it. They would end up coming in, and it was like a ball. They would come in and they'd bounce out.
Yeah, they couldn't do.
Did
you have like incense burning all the time, or?
No, because a lot of people they don't like that. I had nice music like Enya, and I sold music. Yeah. So I had music playing. But everybody came in, they loved the, people would come in, they started crying.
Wow.
So they would feel the, I was like, ooh, and I did healing work. I would do it freely. I used to do, I still do therapeutic touch and that. And so I would just run the energy. And I also did like you do. I used to put a basket on my counter, and it was a prayer basket with little pieces of paper. So people would write in their prayers, and then I would take it. Of course, in the beginning, it was slower. So I would write the prayers in fact, I still have them, into journals. Yeah. And once a week, I had 2 like arches, and I would stand in the middle with whoever I was working with. I said, come here. And I would read off, at the time, each one. There was one story, a woman came in, her mother was, I guess she was in hospice or something, or in the hospital. She wasn't doing well. And she was kind of out of it. I don't know if she was in a coma, but she woke up and she said, oh my God, she goes, there was this beautiful blonde angel with children around her. And the woman came back and gave me that. So she goes, this is after I put the prayer in the prayer basket. So I thought, well, it's energy, right. It's all energy, so.
But when you were little, did you see entities all the time?
I felt presence. No, you know what I would get a lot of? I would get deja vu.
Okay.
I didn't know what deja vu was. You know,
You
like
just
you,
knew you'd been there
I
before.
was born in the 50s. I mean, you didn't ask anything,
No,
you know, and I was afraid of everything.
right.
And so I just thought, oh, well, but I had a lot of people that would come around me, you know, human people, you know, come around and talk to me. And well, when I came in, when I was born, I was, I guess I was that one coming in. As soon as I was born, I was leaving. Because I was born, I had bronchial pneumonia. It was kind of like, you know, I took it like not totally COVID, but some type of flu or virus that was going around. And my mother explained there was a nurse, a teacher, and myself, and we were in like critical care in ICU. Well, they didn't call it back that in the 50s, you know, but it was the three of us, and those two, they died.
Oh my
And
God.
I survived. Yeah, I get the chills. And I had they always said I had a scar on my lung, on my right lung, from what I went through. So I was
But
like
your
the first,
mom was with you. You were just a newborn?
I was a newborn, yeah, or close, or maybe, you know, a couple months old or whatever. But
Okay.
um anyway, so I don't know how long, I don't know, because you know, you don't ask stuff back then, but I don't know how old, but I was always with upper respiratory stuff. But I thought it was very interesting because in this life, I think I'm healer teacher. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, those two people that died were a nurse and a teacher.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And guess what? I don't have a scar on my lung. So
Um,
where did it go?
but you never got identified what it was. It was probably some flu, huh? Some
It was
bad.
they called it a bronchial pneumonia, but I always would get sick as a child. I had always, my mother was very overbearing. I always said I looked like the kid, you know, the Christmas Story with the kid with the BB gun. And you know, his brother, Ralph, well, it was Ralphie, and then his brother,
His
and the mother
brother.
would dressed him up with a snowsuit with a scarf, and he was so dressed, his arms were out like this. I
Right,
have a
right.
picture of myself. I was like,
Yeah. She just died this year or last year. The
oh,
actress that played the mom.
oh wow. Yeah.
So what was one of your more profound ghost experience?
Um, oh geez, I have so many
Oh, I was going to tell
spirit.
you, that's when we decided to do this show. You were telling me bada bing, bada boom. I'm like, we need to put this down on record.
There were a lot of well, you know, you call them ghost spirit. You know, a lot, I want to clarify something. I mean, a lot of people go into, you know, the hauntings and the ghosts and stuff like that. They're unrested, as you know, energies. You know what I'm saying? So you could
Yeah,
go into a place and I'm very energy sensitive as you are, right? I could walk into a place and I could feel like
yeah,
something happened, or it just doesn't have a good sense or feeling of the energy. And that could be from something lingering on, or it could be something that's going on currently within that household.
yeah.
But a lot of times, people that are shocked, maybe they had, we'll say if they had a very horrible death, if there was a murder or killing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They don't know, they're shocked, they don't know that they, right? And you know this from doing readings, I'm sure,
yeah.
right? They don't know they've left.
They'll hang around for a while.
They'll cross, yeah. So sometimes they hang out. And then people that can't release the spirit of somebody, a loved one, they keep crying and crying and crying. Because we have a silver umbilical cord, right? And we could cut that at any time when we want to leave. But when someone's crossing over and you're crying, it's like a rubber band. They're like going and then you drag them back. And they're
Yeah,
going and they come back, you know? So the kindest thing to do is to release them. So I think the areas where they have these so-called hauntings and the ghosts and everything, I don't know, our society, we sensationalize on it, you
and we
know?
do have a lot of residual stuff that'll take
And
place.
look at our grounds, right? Where we live and everything. Look at how old this little blue marble planet is. So could you
I know,
imagine everything that's underneath, right?
right?
And years ago, they didn't honor where people were buried, right? They would just, you know, build on top of it. So
Right,
there's that.
exactly.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. Oh, so a spirit story. So my house that I moved from, I was there 27 years. It was built in 1895.
And
So talk
where was
about,
it located?
it was in Connecticut, it was in Stratford, and that's supposed to be, you know, New England's very like
It's older than California, yeah.
Hauntings, yeah, so it dates back. But anyways, I did a clearing, as I've talked about before, and you go through your house and you sage, or you do whatever, you release, I talked about being Catholic. We used to bring a priest in once a year that used to clear out stuff. But anyways, you could do it at any time. I always tell everybody it's a good thing to do, especially when people come over and visit and that. And if you don't know what people are coming in with, with their heavy duty stuff, and a lot of times they leave it, so you want to kind of like sweep it out. But in any event, so putting the house up on the market, and I went through the whole house, and you start at the lower level of wherever the house is and you go up to the top. So I had like a basement and then I had an attic. So I went through each room, and I went through, and I had a whole wraparound porch. It was an old house, 1895. So my friend was a realtor and she was handling the house, and she came to take pictures. I don't have the picture with me, but she said, "Oh my God, Arlene." I go, "What?" She goes, she was taking pictures of the outside. She goes, "There's all these orbs." If people don't know, I don't have any with me. I don't know if you have any pictures. We could do that another time. But they're orbs. They're like circles. And you see them sometimes superimposed over your photos or whatever. I'm looking up here, see what this, see where they are here now. But there were like a zillion orbs all over the place. I said, "Oh my God, I just did a clearing. I probably swept them all out. They probably want to come back. They probably want to come back in." I'm saying, leave.
But while you were living there, did you hear anything or see anything?
Oh God, yeah. When I first moved in, I had and I was in the house by myself. When you have an empty house and everything, and it's old and you're not used to it, and it's
not that old, but yeah.
You hear the creaks and everything. And I had put a mirror up in the dining room. It was a round mirror. And I was upstairs on the second floor, and I'm doing something, and I hear this boom. And I, of course, didn't want to go, but I went downstairs and I'm looking around. Well, the mirror came off the wall, but the weirdest thing is it came off, it came down, and it was way over in a right-hand corner.
Ooh.
And it didn't fall over. It stayed up.
And it didn't break?
It was a circle, and it didn't break. And I'm like, holy crap. And that mirror was very old, and it was my brother-in-law's parents. I bought their antique dining room set and everything. So I think it was the energy from his mother.
Yeah.
And that's another thing to be aware of with energy and stuff. I don't know if you're aware, when you go to antique stores or you bring things in, to also clear it.
Oh, there's been some scary stories about things that
people hang around. There again, going back to spirits, if you want to call them I don't call them ghost spirit. They'll come back to visit where they were, or if they had an attachment, or they maybe recall something. I don't know. But it's good to clear that out, because you could bring that energy in. And okay, this is okay. You want me to talk? There's another story I have. So this house, no, this wasn't this house. It was my other house that I had. Anyways, and my kids were little. My son, we moved in when there's a couple of stories I'll tell you. He was 2 years old. It was on his second birthday. My daughter was just 3 months old. We moved in. So when I would put them to bed at night as they were growing, I would sing. I used to sing, and I would rub their back to put them to sleep. And it was in my daughter's room. Now, I knew the people that had the house before us. It was a Jewish family, because we had met the adult children's, because the parents, I think, were either in nursing, maybe one had passed away. And she said, we were raised Jewish, but she said this was a very happy household. She said, and they had a fireplace. She said, we used to hang up Christmas stocking. They would hang up stuff for Christmas too. I said, well, that's nice to know. They were I took it that it was nice energy. They were a happy family. So up in the attic, there was a dresser left. Actually, we bought some of their furniture, because back then, years ago, people used to have furniture made, So there was a dresser up, an old dresser. It was on wheels even, had little wheels so you can move it. And there was something else, and there were books in it and things. So at night, I swear to God, and my ex was a fireman, and it always happened when he was working, okay? I used to hear stuff. I used to hear the front door. We had a storm door and another door, and I would hear something. That's another second part I'm going to tell you. But anyways, at night when I was putting my daughter to bed, and I would be sitting there, I'd sing to her, and I would hear boom, boom, I would hear actual footsteps. You know, when somebody's walking on
Yeah.
upstairs, you could hear, I would hear footsteps and I would hear it walk across the top. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I didn't want my kids to be scared. So of course I didn't say it, you know, I'm like, oh, and she's sleeping. And I would hear it and it would come right to the top of the to the staircase, because it was an walk up attic. And I always was thinking, oh my God, if I hear that coming down the stairs, I'm grabbing those kids and I'm running the hell out of this house. That's before I was open to any of this. So I was like, holy crap. So that would happen periodically. And after, well, and then I divorced that husband. I remarried, and my niece was watching she stayed over because I was away. So she stayed with the kids. And my niece at the time had insomnia. She couldn't sleep. She heard, I never talked to my kids about it at all. And they were ready. She was like, my daughter was probably 11 or 12. And my niece said to her in the morning, Melissa, do you hear that? Do you hear that? And my daughter wakes up from sleep. She goes, oh, don't worry. That's just the dead Jewish people.
Oh my God.
So my niece, she was like, oh yeah. She was like, holy crap. So that was one story. Then the other story that I said, when I would hear the front door and I would say to my ex, oh my God, I heard somebody. And he'd go, that's nothing. That's just the house settling. He blew me off. And I go, I'm telling you what I heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I kind of ignored it. So we're out one night. We have the babysitter, young girl babysitting, young teenager. We come home. So of course you say, how are the kids? Blah, blah, blah. They give you a hard time. She said, well, she goes, I had to call my mother. So I look at her, go, why? She said, I heard someone coming in the front door. So I look at my, now he's gone in spirit by X. And I said, see, I told you I'm not nuts.
Right.
So that was that. So then that following week, my kids are upstairs sleeping. Like my son was like 3 years old at the time. Okay. I'm talking to my friend. I hear the noise. I hear it. So I'm talking, but I ignored it. I'm talking, and all of a sudden, like 15, my son wakes up from a sleep. Now, toddlers, when they wake up, how do they wake? They usually go, he was like, and my hair stood up. My hair stood up my arms. I go, oh my God, oh my God. Whoever, I said, stay on the phone. I put the phone up like this because I thought, oh Jesus. I didn't know what it was, but I knew whatever I heard was related to what he was reacting to. So I went to the staircase. It was a colonial. So he's coming down the stairs, holding on the railing, but looking back. He's walking down, but looking back up. And I said, Eric, I said, what's wrong? He has little Dr. Denton's on. He was just 3 years old. This kid had a learning disability to begin with anyways, but he was 3 years old. He couldn't talk. He goes, Mommy, don't let the man in the uniform get me. Oh no, don't let the man with the truck in the uniform get me. It was perfect sentence structure. Oh. What kid at 3 knows the word uniform? Okay. Wow. So I was like this. I was like, so I picked him up and I held him and I said, don't worry, don't worry. It was my father. Oh, my father who died when I was 18. He had an oil business. He loved his truck. He loved his oil business, and he always wore a uniform, because it got all oily and greasy, and then he'd take it off and change when he came home. But that's who it was.
Isn't that amazing?
And he came in I think just to check in on the kids, because he didn't, he wasn't there when I got married or had kids or anything. So, yeah.
So you didn't get holy water or anything and say the powder?
No, I wasn't scared. And then you know what? It didn't happen after that.
Well, he didn't scare the kid.
But I'll tell you something. I think my father has always been, he's one of my son's protectors and one of his spirit guides or whatever. Because, as he was growing, with our kids, I mean, I don't know about you, but I was, if they did something, I'd go to hit them on their butt, right? I mean, I didn't abuse them, but
right.
I'm not, what's that saying? Hold the rod, spoil the child, whatever, I mean, I would correct them, and anytime I would go to smack him in some way, like on his butt or whatever, I would end up hurting myself. I would end up hitting something else and getting hurt. That I would go, ow. Something would stop me from doing anything to that child. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was raised in corporal punishment, so I had a thing against hitting children. I
Well,
didn't have children.
I did. Yeah, I did too. I didn't try it. My sister was bad. Because sometimes you replicate, what you grew up in, of course,
Well, yeah, my dad's father beat the crap out of him, so he did the same to us.
Well, that's what happened to my father too, but my father didn't touch it. It was my mother. But I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. Who knows?
But I lived in this house that was right on an estate, an old estate where the guy owned half the city. And we lived in one of the houses that used to belong to his top servants, but they had redone it. And there was so much that happened in that little house, toys going off on their own, stuff like that. And my kids loved it because there was plenty of running room. But one day I was sitting at the computer and my ex-husband was there and the two kids, they were little. And all of a sudden there was a flash, like a boom. So I thought, oh, it was the summertime, but I thought it might have been a lightning because we all looked because it flashed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you hear boom, boom, boom on the door. Well, the thing is that door has a screen. So how the hell did someone hit the door without opening the screen? The screen was still closed. You could see it because there was a little window on the top of the door.
Yep.
So my ex jumps up and goes to the door and opens the door and there's nobody there. It was so spooky.
What did he say?
Nothing. I knew it was ghostesses. I knew it was a spirit. And another time, and come to find out, the lady in the front, her mother had lived in that house. And she said oftentimes she heard a car coming down the driveway where our house was. And they'd go look and there was no car. So one day, my ex was in school. He was in a program, an auto mechanics program. And he usually got home around 11. And my son Jake was asleep in his room. And I was sort of up watching TV. And it was getting on 11. So I'm kind of like, wait, because what he would do is he would walk in and open the bedroom door and say, I'm home. Then he'd go in the kitchen and get him something to eat. And so I'm waiting. I hear him pull up. And I hear him come through the front door. And I'm waiting for him to come to my room. But instead, he walked to the kitchen. So I thought, well, that's where I said, Richard, real loud, nothing. And I yelled again, Richard, nothing. I could feel every hair on my body go straight up. Now I got a baby asleep in the other room.
Yeah, yeah.
But the only way out is through the front door, or in the kitchen, there was a back patio area. You could go through that door. So I'm thinking, oh, dear God, what do I do? So what I thought I would do, because if I go in and grab the baby, then we're totally isolated back in that room. So what I did is I ran fast towards the front door, opened the screen door, and here comes my ex driving down in his car. And I guess the look on my face, he jumps out of the car. He said, what happened? I said, there's someone in the house. He goes flying in. He grabbed little wheelie toys kids have as a weapon because he didn't have anything else. And he goes through, and that back door was locked. There was nobody in that house. But that was a straight up ghost.
So who do you think it was?
I think it might be it might have been the father that used to live there. My landlady's husband.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm sure you know about this too. Children, little ones, and the elderly see the veils, they see spirit.
Right. Well, right? Jacob one night got up to go in the kitchen to get some water. He was probably 2 or 3. And he got so scared because he walked in, and by my oven, he saw a silhouette of a man's face. And he had a long beard. And the man sort of went, oh.
Oh, yeah.
He sort of, he was shimmering.
Kind of melted, yeah.
He was shimmering, and it scared my son. And then later, when we looked at the history of this estate we were on, that was the guy who ran that estate. That was the old man that lived there that died in the 1800s.
Wow.
But you know, if I talk to him now, because he's, he's a
He doesn't
scientist,
remember.
nah, he's bah humbug.
He
I'm
doesn't
sure
remember.
I made a mistake. I'm sure I was overthinking.
I used to tell people that would come to the shop and everything with the little ones, because they would look around because they'd see the energy. And I would say, or they would talk about how their children were. And I said, keep that conversation going. The gift you could give them is keeping it going.
Yeah,
Because once you hit, like in Catholicism, because we have, the so-called sacraments, you go for your confession or whatever, Holy Communion, and you're age 7, because they used to call that the age of reason. It's, in other words, where we click out of the spirit realm, we come into more of this realm here, and we
right.
leave all that behind. So the kids have all that ability at that young age, and if we
Yeah,
could harvest it and really have them, go
yeah.
into that, it's really, blessing for it, and the elderly too. I had one patient in hospice, and um, Anita, she was funny. Oh God, she was a funny woman. And I would talk to her, about, she had a cancer and she loved to shop. She'd be taking her last breath. She'd be in the hospital, and the gift cart would come from the from the gift shop, and she'd be, hey, I want that.
Yeah.
We would laugh. And so I was only there like once a week, and then I would call up some of the patients that I had, and I would do energy. I'd say, okay, I would have them relax and breathe, and I would go through a whole process with them. And then I would be, coaching them a little bit, saying, you may start seeing deceased loved ones coming to you. You may see angels. You may. So Anita, of all people, Anita is talking to me one day. She goes, Arlene, she goes, I'm in bed. She goes, the nurse came over and she goes, hey, you see those flies? Anita said to the nurse, and the nurse goes, no, I don't see any flies. And she goes, yeah, there's flies, So she was asking me about it. And I said, I don't know what to tell you. I said, maybe they're coming through to you in a form of a fly. I'm not going to deny it. So that was a story she left with me. She passed on. And then the person next to her was Gracie. And back then they didn't keep people in hospice long. You only had, because insurance, you're only there for like a couple of weeks, and if you didn't pass over by then, they would send you back home. So they sent Grace back home. She had Lou Gehrig's disease. She was young. She was a teacher. It was heartbreaking. She couldn't move anything. The only thing that was left was her head, her voice. She could talk, and that, and I knew once that went, forget it. So they sent her back home. This was in the winter. Yeah, because Anita passed. It was like Christmas time, so it was
Right.
cold out. So I went to see Grace, and they had the hospital bed was in a room, downstairs room. So I'm talking with her and everything, and I swear to God, this. So it was dead of winter. It was an ice storm. I remember being there, and I hear zzz, and I'm looking around. I go, "What the heck is that?" And I look and I see this thing go zzz, and all of a sudden on Grace's lip, this big horse fly lands on her lip. And I went, oh, so I'm brushing, because she couldn't move, I'm brushing it. And I said, and I start laughing. I go, oh, dear God. I go, that's Anita. I said, Anita has come to say, she wants to know what we're talking about. She's in the conversation. So we laughed, Then after that, Grace went back and she crossed over. But yeah, it's
Oh
something
my
just to be
God.
aware of.
Well, I worked out of that shop at Angel Heart. That the story of that building is fascinating. It used to be against the water, and then it got moved to this where it's at. It's got a real old-fashioned elevator, and it used to have women's of the night. The Madame had the upstairs that's facing the street, and where there was even a like this big of a black mark in the wood from where the women had been ironing, and someone dropped it and it burnt the floor. They kept it there. And then Jack London wrote several of his books there, and there was a bar
Wow.
there and everything. So, that it's pretty easy to get a haunting there. I've had a couple of things happen, but I had a friend who I just got to see again last night after a long time, Jackie, and her daughter had died tragically of an accident, a skateboard accident. And she came in to see me, and I had known her, and I saw her dad, And then she says, well, anyone else? And I looked, and then I see this long flowing blonde hair. I said, oh my God, there's a beautiful young woman here with long flowing. And that was her daughter, Kate.
Wow. Wow.
So Jackie was so thrilled that a psychic finally picked up her daughter. She got her husband and her son to come and see me. Now, the room I was reading at was very small. In fact, yesterday we showed a bunch of people the room. And it had a window, honest to God, almost up to the ceiling. The rooms had high ceilings, but it had a curtain, sort of a lace curtain.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
went from the top of the window all the way down.
Yeah.
No one had ever taken that thing down to wash it or anything. It was up there. So she brings her husband in, and her husband had his arms crossed and his legs crossed. I think
Closed
not that he
off.
didn't believe. According to Jackie, he was nervous. So I'm reading and I'm talking to Kate, and I'm telling Kate in my mind, I don't think your dad believes any of this, because his look on his face. And her son was right over here, and Jackie was over to my right. And all of a sudden, the top of that curtain with the bar and everything went flying.
Oh my God. Oh, I just got the chills.
And Jackie turned to her husband and said, you believe her now? Kate made herself known. I'm telling you, it was absolutely wonderful.
Isn't that great when things happen like that? I remember when I had the store, of course, the salesman would, or whoever would come in to sell their goods. I had this one Jewish guy. He was funny. We'd sit there and laugh, and he tried to sell me stuff I didn't want. And I had my things up on the shelves and everything. And we're sitting there one day because I had tables, because I had the cafe. I had it all inclusive in one area. And he's sitting, we're talking, and all of a sudden, something, I swear to God, Linda, it was, I don't know if it was a plush piece or whatever, came off the shelf, and it kind of flew across. Yeah. The guy sat there like this. He went, I go, I said, you believe now?
That's the same with the Angel Heart place, because I've come in there and all of a sudden a whole bunch of places, just specific, not like the whole place, right? Just specific, everything was pushed down. Yep.
Yeah, it's the energy. Definitely. Definitely the energy.
And we had a gal that did was an esthetician, and she was in the madame's room. And people would take the elevator to go up to her little shop. And she told me one day she had was leaving and locked the shop, and she hears music playing, and she thought, damn it, I could have swore I turned my radio off up there. So she unlocks it, she goes in, she goes to the radio, and it's not plugged in. So something was playing music in that room. She left right after that.
Well, the first building that I was small. It was only 800 square feet where I first opened the shop. And also the building was old, it was over 100 years old. And it's interesting you're saying that, because across the street from it was kind of what they call the speakeasy. It was during Prohibition. Yeah. So they had they had the booze, and they had dancing, and who knows, whatever. And the place that I had actually was originally, they had like a grill, and it was a bar. But back then, and it had two doors next to each other, like in the front. And this old woman came in one day. She said, my father used to have this. She goes, you know why they have two doors here? And I'm like, I don't know. Because back then, women could not go into the bar area. I didn't know that. So they had to enter and be like I think that's why, at least here, I don't know what you guys have out there, but we have like, you could enter to the lounge in the bar area, you could enter to the restaurant. They still have that some places. And wow. I think that's where it came from. So anyways, that's why the two doors were there. But a quick story. So I'm in the shop one day. My daughter was helping me. And a couple of things. One time I was in there, it was early in the morning, and I go, and a little tiny bathroom. The sink was so small, no one could even believe it. And I had nothing in there except the toilet and the sink. So I went to the bathroom, and I went to leave, and it was a latch, because the door was so old. It had one of those hooks with the, you had to hook it in like that. Not a slide, it was a hook. And so I unhooked it. The doorknob came off in my hand. It was the old fashioned doorknobs with the long piece of metal, yeah. So, and I'm holding it. I couldn't open up the door. So now I'm locked in the bathroom. My shop is open.
Oh,
and no one's out there except And
And
I'm
nobody
going,
else was around?
no, there was no one around. I know, and I start sweating. I'm sweating. I look, there's nothing. I had nothing. I'm trying to put a piece of, I was trying to go with my fingers. I finally grabbed it and I was able to go in and, so don't ask me what the heck happened there. But I always went
Oh my
I
God, I
always went with my
love it.
telephone after. And that bathroom, again, I go in there one day to go to the bathroom. My daughter was working with me at this time. I come out of the, and of course I come out of the bathroom. Then she went in and a little while later, she goes, Ma, I go, what? She goes, I can't get in the bathroom. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, it's locked. I go, there's no way it could be locked. Linda,
Oh
the
my
thing,
God.
the latch was latched. You had to physically,
Oh, yeah,
you had to pull the door in and you had to push it down. So I
right.
had to get this thin knife and I was able to, and we looked at it, she looked at me and I went, I said, some things you can't explain. They're just there. There was somebody that wanted the bathroom. I don't know. I guess we were holding them up. But I
Right.
wanted to show you also to be aware, we talked about orbs, orbs in pictures.
Yeah,
Orbs will show up, like say if somebody has crossed over,
yeah.
and it could show up in a picture. And I want to show you, this was my, the shop that I moved to. I don't know. Well, can you see
Can't
that?
see
No,
anything now.
can't see it, huh? Oh, shoot. Can't,
I can see, it's too light.
yeah,
Why
you
don't you
can't
send
see
it
it.
to me
It's
and I'll put
too
it on?
bad. It's too
Send it to
bad.
me and
Oh,
I'll put it on the page.
I wanted to show you because I have 3 photos and I actually brought this to the camera shop, where the shop, where I was in town. And they said, that's not there. It wasn't, I was a former x-ray technician and when we used to develop x-rays, you would get, when it was static electricity,
Oh,
would
you
come
sent this to
across,
me before, yeah.
it would come across the film, it would appear like white, but this was blue, that periwinkle blue. And if you look at it, you can actually see like skeletal figures going up and down. And the guy in the photo place, he goes, this isn't, he goes, I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you. He didn't know what it was, but I know what it was. And there was just spirit all over the place.
I've been to several, I don't know if you've gone into any spaces. I know the Winchester House. I got
Yeah,
so
yeah.
nauseous up in her bedroom and then I saw a black outline of something moving and it was short. So I'm sure that was her. And I also got real nauseous in the stables. And then at the Queen Mary, that place was haunted as hell.
Yeah, yeah.
And that we come out of our room and a guy said, how are you guys liking that room? I said, oh, it's fine. And he said, yeah, I was in that room about 2 years ago. He said, I leave, I lock the door, I leave and I hear this rumbling. So I turned around and opened the door and the room was just tore up. And that short
Really?
amount of time. Yeah.
What do you
And
mean?
then the other one that was,
Like a mess? It was a
yeah,
mess?
something tore the room up. That's happened more than
Really? Like
once. Yeah.
stuff was thrown all over?
Yes. They do that all the time. They do
Oh my
that.
God.
But another time I was at the one that Stephen King wrote a book.
Okay.
The
That'd be
one that's up in
creepy.
Colorado.
Okay. Oh,
Uh,
we went there. I think we went there with my sister-in-law. I can't
There
remember
was
the
so
name of
much
it.
energy. I had all the equipment, and it was just going
Isn't
on.
that where they filmed? Wait, isn't that where they filmed The Shining?
They didn't film it there, but that's where
It
Stephen
was on The
King went.
Shine. Yeah,
He
yeah,
went
yeah.
there and his suitcase was unpacked by a ghost.
Well, that's
And
good.
that's what made him
I'd like to
think
get
to
a
do
cleaning
the
lady.
show. Yeah, but he filmed it at a different place, but it was
Oh, okay.
based on that place.
Yeah, that was a
And
creepy
I've
one.
met so many people that have gone there that have pictures of full-bodied apparitions. But that place was so energetic that I had to like keep the TV on. I couldn't.
My feeling is, I think if you're in fear around the thing, it attracts it more to happen. I think the kindest thing we could do for any area is to release, spirits and let them go to where they're supposed to be. Not to say they won't touch in, like the stories that we shared about, like I shared about my father and stuff like that, because they will touch in at times to just check in, but they don't hang out continually,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's the fear. And I had I saw the actual like ghoulies when you were talking about feeling nauseous. This happened to me, and this is when I think it's when I was through my divorce, right? And I was living by myself in that house, and
In
I
the
had a little
spooky
I
house?
had a little Yorkie, huh?
In the spooky house?
In the 1895 house, yeah. So I had this little Yorkie, but she would never stay upstairs with me. Anyways, I went to bed, and I swear to God, I couldn't something, and I felt something on my back, like go like this, that I jumped. Okay, I go, what the heck? And I started smelling, and I'm like, oh my God, it was making me sick to my stomach, Linda. Like I wanted to throw up. Okay, this is horrible to say, but if you've ever had a mouse that died, dead mice, that smell, that,
Oh, that was an evil one. Yeah.
I could almost hurl just thinking about it. It's like, oh God, like it's sulfuric. It's like, oh, and that's what I smelled. I go, what the hell? And it got stronger. I brought the York, so it was a Yorkie, and I brought her upstairs. And I had at the time, it was like a water bed. So I had, anyways, there was an opening underneath. She was going crazy, smelling, and she went around and around the bed. There was nothing. And I go, son of a gun. So I sprayed Lysol, I wanted to go to sleep. I was tired. And I woke up again, and I finally, I sat up, and I said, I go, whatever the hell this is, get the hell out of here. And I didn't say a prayer. That's what I said. And guess what? It left. There is
Did
a
the Yorkie stay
universal
with
law.
you, or did it go back
No,
downstairs?
she wouldn't stay. She was like, forget it. You're on your own. But there's a universal law that if you tell something to be gone, it has to honor it. It has to leave you
Yeah,
alone.
you have no power here. Be gone.
You have no power. Yeah, whatever you have to do, you just like, and you're safe, And there was another story in that same house. Around my ex, because this happens with a lot of people. If there's people that are addicts, and everybody has their issues, and it's a disease, but that's a low vibration energy, and other low vibrations will come and attach onto people like that, will be around them. And I remember going back into the house, and there was like, I saw actual ghoulies, like from the movie Ghost. Yeah, I was walking down, it was like a long room, and he was there, and it was like they were going like this, like calling me, like, come here. I
Oh
swear to God.
my God.
I swear to God. And I actually saw, it was like vapory black
Dear
licorice color,
God,
like,
girl.
yeah. And I was like this, no way, you stay in your place.
Jesus.
You're not
Holy
coming with me.
cow. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
just a thing.
this was fun.
It was, we could talk a lot.
I know,
So
but I wanted to intro you on my channel, and I want you guys to go to Beacons of Balance. It's a podcast. And we're
yeah,
gonna
so
have
we're
some
on.
pretty exciting people coming on. Now, it's not a psychic, maybe it's more with spiritual alignment. It's not something where I do readings or psychic stuff.
No, but we talk about, it'll interplay where there'll be some spirit talk in there.
Yeah.
But it's really about us. It's called Beacons of Balance because Linda and I talked about this, because we're in the world, especially now, everything's so crazy with everything is just like, the world the way it is now has never been this way before.
Yeah.
And it seems, because of technology, everything has sped up so fast that everything's spinning out of control. So you try to, like, it's balance, because it's like, see your darkness, because we all have our darkness, honor your light, and you make choices. Which way do you want to
Which is
be?
being in presence. That
Yeah,
might,
we're
the
one
theme of
side.
the Tao
Yeah,
is be present.
exactly. So anyways, we have new episodes every Wednesday. So this is a little different for Linda, but we have fun with it. And
Yeah.
I'm excited because we do have our speaker that was on today is talking about dreams. That'll be the end of
And I'll
January.
post that on the show when she comes up.
Yeah, and then in February, I have someone coming on. We have someone coming on that she's called the Love Doctor. So that's very exciting.
We
And
got a lot of special guests coming up.
yeah, February, we're going to be talking about all about relationships, all different relationships.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to ask questions or whatever, I mean, we do have a website. You could write into there, or you can let Linda know or whatever.
Okay.
And we love it. I love you, honey. Love
Thank
you.
you. Love
Love
you.
you. Love everybody out there.
Thank you guys for showing up.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.